So I need to stand up.
Always stand, yes.
This states in page 153, the original corporation, the Facebook LCC registered in Florida was formed with Mark owning 65% of ownership, 30% for Eduardo, and 5% for Dustin. Mark Zuckerberg and Andre Sean's guidance reincorporated the company as a Delaware LCC. At this point, Mark and Sean had created new rules and regulations. The new rules state that Eduardo will still own 30% of the company, but share will change proportionate by the work each person does and will be diluted accordingly. At this point, the majority of the stock went to Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg found his partnership when he borrowed money from Eduardo out of both equal control and clearly stated the amount of equity of money. Although the new rules were set based upon acts of Eduardo closed the bank account, there were no such contracts made to prove that the money could not be taken away accordingly by Eduardo. Also, such action could have left out. Action could have taken place because Eduardo was in frustration after being broken up with his girlfriend and being left out by Mark and other Facebook team. At this point, Mark never tried to explain details of the rules, that the rules will be regularly. Mark never tried to explain details of the company and didn't talk much about the new investors, nor that the shares equity stake in the new role will be regularly reduced by so much. In addition, in the novel and in the movie, Mark was one who asked Eduardo to become his partner and become a co-founder. However, Mark defrauded Eduardo by telling him to become a partner by leaving him out of important meetings and pushing him out of Facebook team. With this defraud, Mark made an intentional scheme to defraud Eduardo in order to gain more share in the long run, which he did. We, the plaintiff, claim that Mark Zuckerberg used our own corporation lawyers to mislead and misrepresent the planned sale of our original company to a bigger new company. Also, Eduardo was told his share increased to 34.4% and was told from Mark that these contracts were necessary and good. In addition, Eduardo was never told by anyone that his shares would be radically reduced by signing the contract. With this defraud, Eduardo would eventually lose much of his shares and Mark would have access to more than $1,000 by this defraud. Later to read, Mark asked Eduardo to come to California to have a business meeting, to have some conversation about the company. However, this defraud made by Mark leads Eduardo to reject signing a new contract, which left Eduardo with less than 5% of the share and was fired. This defraud violates the law because with Mark's defraud, it affected Eduardo and more than 10 or more such persons, including his ex-girlfriend, various investors who thought he was still the co-founder, the Facebook team and lawyers, lawyers in the old company, and the Facebook users, Phoenix Group, Edward's family, and borders of the harbor community. Also, this defraud made Eduardo's share less than 5%, leaving the rest to Mark, which is worth more than $10,000. As his plans were made way before it was told to Eduardo, and since Mark defrauded Eduardo twice to sign the contract, it is very systematic and ongoing course of conduct, as it states in the New York statutes. On top of this, on page 212, Mark states Eduardo to step back a little and to ease his own concerns so that Eduardo could focus on finishing up the school. As far as I'm concerned, it almost seems as if Mark intentionally said this, knowing that changes in the share and the new rule would change according to the work portrayed by each person. On top of this, throughout the novel, Mark never tells what's happening in the company, but tends to get into contact with Eduardo when he needs such contracts to be signed, for him to get full control of the company. And finally, Mark Zuckerberg's original share in the old company was 65% and dropped down to 51%. Eduardo had dropped from 30% to less than 5%. Knowing that Facebook recently worth about $50 billion, and Eduardo was said to be settled $1.1 billion. It is actually not worth how Eduardo should have gotten as a co-founder of Facebook. To wrap up, the defendant used the process trick fraud and using tricky letters that deceived Eduardo, kept secrets that would have been shared with his partner and Mark, made an intentional scheme to defraud Eduardo. Eduardo Severin was defrauded out of money weighing in excess of $1,000, and 10 or more people have been affected by this defraud. And Mark gained a property, which was money. As I mentioned in the beginning, Mark promised Eduardo that he would become his business partner and co-founder of Facebook. However, Mark defrauded about Eduardo being the partner, which is violating the New York status by fraudulent promise. Now the Facebook is worth about $50 billion, and Mark's share is said to be about 35 to 40%. However, let's say if Eduardo had even 33% of the Facebook, it would be worth more than $1.5 billion, which would be more than $1.1 billion, which he got settled in. And this is stated in the New York Daily News. Mark originally had 51%, but ended up at 34 to 40%. But Eduardo couldn't even get 3% of the Facebook because he didn't sign the contract and it was fired. After all, if Mark's defrauded such money that should have went to Eduardo went to the company, employees, or maybe even Mark Zuckerberg. And basically the lawsuit was about Eduardo Severin's claims that Mark Zuckerberg defrauded him out of his equity and control of Facebook.com, which he co-founded. Eduardo Severin sues Mark with the fact that such rules and regulations in the new corporation was changed over time, but wasn't mentioned to him beforehand nor in detail. Thank you.
In this case, Mark Zuckerberg did not defraud him in the first degree because of the following reasons. The statute of 180.65 scheme to defraud in the first degree says, engages in a scheme constituting a systematic ongoing course of conduct with intent to defraud more than one person or to obtain property from more than one person by force of fraudulent pretenses, representations or promises, and so obtains property with a value in excess of $1,000 from one or more such persons. From this, Mark Zuckerberg did not defraud in the first degree because Mark Zuckerberg did not deceive more than one person. Eduardo Severin mentioned that Mark Zuckerberg defrauded and betrayed him. However, he said as following in page 240, Eduardo had tried to hurt the company by freezing the bank account. Eduardo had tried to make it difficult to raise VC money by asserting his own position as the titular head of the business. And Eduardo had even done some other things that could have caused Facebook harm, such as starting a separate website, Jurors. Sean Parker and Peter Thiel made it clear that no investor was going to hand them money with some kid running around New York claiming to be the head of the business side of the company, fronting some 30% ownership status, holding it over them like a saber, ready to chop off their heads, in page 208. From these facts, it was clear that Eduardo Severin did only not contribute to Facebook, but also damage Facebook. Therefore, although Mark Zuckerberg made a decision for Facebook to fire Eduardo Severin, he did not defraud Eduardo Severin. Eduardo Severin stated he had been in Facebook in the beginning, in page 229. However, he did not think that Facebook was the best thing in his life. In page 219, he could have moved out to California. He could have taken time off from school. Anyway, he was senior, now only 5 months to go before graduation. Then he could throw himself into Facebook like Dennis, go right back to where he had worked and Mark had started. It shows that Eduardo left Facebook for a while. Therefore, it contradicted that he said that he had been on Facebook in the beginning. On the other hand, Mark Zuckerberg sacrificed all of his life for Facebook. Eduardo Saverin approved that it was true. It was shown that Facebook had been Mark's idea in the beginning. After all, he was the one who put in the hours, put in the work. He had built the company from the dorm room up. He had written the code, launched the site, gone to California, postponed college, found the funding. To him, it had been a Mark Zuckerberg production from day one, in page 240. Eduardo Saverin began signing the legal document. It was mentioned in page 216. In page 215, if Eduardo signed the papers, he'd be saying that these new papers outlined his position at Facebook in its entirety, that everything that came before was simply history. Also, the lawyers did their best to explain the document as Eduardo in page 214. Therefore, it will be legal evidence that will prove that Mark Zuckerberg did not defraud Eduardo Saverin. Thus, Mark Zuckerberg did not defraud Eduardo Saverin in the first degree from these reasons.